Hey guys, welcome back. Or if it's your first time here, welcome. So today we're going to be learning about one of the most basic and important OOPS concept, decision control and looping statements. So without further ado, let's jump into the topic. Let's first learn about decision statements. When we first think about the decision statements, what is the first thing that might come into your mind? I'm guessing it could be, you know, something we can decide, like we choose the option, something similar to that, yeah? So in programming, it's something similar. So in decision control statements, we give like the flow of execution is that we have a decision statement, like there's a statement which can, let's just say that I haven't, there's this guy here, and then the guy is given two options between, having ice cream and, going and doing his homework. So it depends. The guy's state is that he wants to have ice cream. That's his decision. So then he's gonna go and have the ice cream and continue on. So if he decides to do homework, then he's gonna do the homework and then continue on with his life. So there's two outcomes for this scenario. It's going to be the same for decision statements in during programming. So over here, what decision statement says is that statements are programming constructs that control the flow of execution by evaluating conditions and selecting one of multiple possible paths based on those rules. So over here, it's not just two possible paths; it can be multiple. So don't just limit yourself based on my imagination. You can do more than two. Now let's have a look at looping statements. So, Ash, what do you think a loop is? So, when I say loop, you guys can think of something circular, yeah? Something which starts the same place but comes around and ends at the same place. It starts at point A and then come again and ends at A. So, if that's how you think, then you're absolutely right, because that's how looping statements work and programming too. So what it does is that we give a statement and then it technically just loops back. It does a condition. So the condition until the condition is satisfied or unsatisfied, it's just going to keep on looping back again to the same statement again and again and again until it's satisfied or unsatisfied. So according to the C++ official definition, looping statements are programming constructs that repeatedly execute a block of code as long as a specified condition is satisfied or for a defined number of iterations. So that's decision statements and looping statements. So now let's have a look at the type of decision statements. So there are four types of decision statements. So first one is the if. Second is the else if, and the third is nested if, and the fourth is switch statements. Okay, so stay with me now. We're gonna go through all of these one by one. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure most of the viewers over here are gonna be, having the grasp, like basic knowledge of what if, else if, and all of that. So I'm just gonna be a little vague over here. If it is, well, it should be easy to comprehend. So for the first statement, if statement, yeah. So for the if statement, it's like we're gonna give a condition. We're gonna give a condition, and if the condition is true, it's gonna proceed with the statement. If it's not true, then it's going to end over there. Like the program is just gonna end over there. That's basically it. So else if on the other hand, what we can do is that it's the same as if, but we're also gonna have an else. Like if the if statement fails, we're going to have another statement where it takes the alternative route and proceeds the program in another direction. So that's else if. Then there's nested if. Nested if is simple. I mean, it's just if I, in another if block, like it's going to be like if and another if inside if, and then another if inside if. That's basically it. You can imagine it, right? Like if one, and then there's an if two inside if one, and then there's an if three inside of if two, and all these are like together combined, like it's nested, like it's all together in one big family kind of thing. So that's all the if statements we have for decision statements. Now we're going to have a look at switch statements. So when I say switch, you guys can think of it like not the electrical, on and off. It's not like that. Switch statements are something else different. They're mostly like used for having more than one. Like rather than having a nested if, it's going to be more simpler. We're going to have a switch case. It's like more of case based. It's going to be more case based rather than switch like nested if. So basically, a switch case statement is a multi-way decision statement. There is a simplified version of an if-else block so an if-else block only evaluates one variable, whereas a switch case evaluates multiple variables, so that we can have n number of variables as well as in minimum time to run the statement. So now we're going to look at the types of looping statements. So there are three main types of looping statements. The first one is for loop, second one is while loop, and then the third one is do while loop. So let's start with the for loop. So when I say for loop, you guys can pretty much understand like we're doing the loop until something is achieved. Like for we're doing a loop for we're doing a loop for 100 times, like 100 turns, like times, or turns or times, whatever. We're going to do the loop for 100 turns, or 2 turns, like that, until the statement we're going to loop the same statement until particular number of iterations achieved. So for the for loop, we can say that, like the official way, we can say that it's a mechanism to repeat a task until a particular condition is true, which is also the definition for while and do while. But in for loop's case, it's usually known as a determinate or a definite loop because the programmer knows exactly how many times the loop will be repeated. So that's the for loop for you. So the programmer, or you in this case, can know how many times exactly the loop will be 5 or 10. It's the this thing. It's the value when we which we give to the this thing output where we don't get the desired output. Basically says that it's wrong. Like the input is so wrong that I can't give you the output. That's what it basically says. So let's give it a go. So it tells enter a number 1 to 3 and I'm going to enter 3. When I say it runs. Now I'm going to show you the negative output. I'm going to enter, let's say 0 invalid number. So that's what happens. I'm going to try one more trick in this case. I'm going to try it with a negative number and it works. That is the switch statement problem solving. Okay, sorry, it's the switch statement. Now let's move on to the third and final problem statement, which is going to be the we're going to use loops for this one, like all for, while, and do while loops. So what we're going to have to do is that we're going to print the numbers from 1 to 5. That's all we're going to do. So what we're going to do is that first we're going to use a for loop. In the for loop, we're going to define integer. We're going to initialize I. Like I is a variable, and then we're going to initialize I from 1. If we start from 0, we don't want to start from 0 because the problem statement uses from 1 to 5, not 0 to 5. We're going to start I from 1. So then we're gonna give the like limit for I. We're gonna give the limit for I, and I should be equal to 5. That's it. Can't be greater than 5. It has to be lesser than and equal to 5. So that's why we're doing the lesser than equal to sign over here. This is the limit of I from 1 to 5. And then this is the incrementation of I. I plus plus basically increments it. It just adds one more for the loop. Okay, and then we're gonna print the I. We're gonna print the I values. So what basically this is what's gonna happen. It's gonna run the loop 5 times. So how it's gonna run the loop 5 times? First, it's gonna give me the output 1, and the second time it iterates, it's gonna give me the output 2, and then the third time it iterates, it's gonna give me the output value 3, and then it fourth time 4, and finally the fifth time 5. So I can tell how many times it's going to loop, how many output I'm going to get. That's why it's called for loop, and we know how many times it's going to iterate. Now let's move on to the while loop. So over here in the while loop, what we're going to do is that we're going to initialize j for this. Okay, let's initialize j for this. So we're just gonna say while, okay? So while j is less than or equal to 5. So it can be n number, like it can also include 0 on this one, okay? So when j is less than or equal to 5, I just want to print. But over here, it won't print j because we're initializing j from 1. So it's going to directly start from 1. But I'm just saying, so for this statement, while j is less than or equal to 5, it can consider any number which is less than 5 and equal to 5. Okay. So what's going to happen to do? What's going to happen here is it's going to be the same as follow. Only this time, I'm able to say it because I know the question. The question has clearly stated that it has to be 1 to 5. Sometimes we can't determine that for when we're using while loop. We can keep going because we're going to give a statement which the computer determines is true. All right. So it's going to be the same for this also, same as for loop. It's going to have different 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So let's just move on to the do while loop. Let me explain how the do while loop works. So let's take k first. Okay, we're going to initialize k to 1 because again we can't go less than 1. So we're gonna start with the do. Okay. So what do does is that do me first. Like start from me first. So what happens here is that it's gonna print k. It's gonna print k first. So when we start this program for do while loop, what is gonna happen is that one is definitely gonna be printed. We can for sure say one will be printed, and then it's going to increment. One is going to increment to two. That's going to happen before it can check this thing, before it can check for the limit. So let's see how it works. It works beautifully. We are getting each and every output. So for loop, one, two, three, four, five, and while loop, one, two, three, four, five, do while loop, one, two, three, four, five. That is what we wanted, and that's what we got. So, guys, that is it for today. So, I'm just gonna, go the key points of what we learned today. We learned about decision-making statements. They are the control statements which we can use to, have multiple paths out of, like multiple outputs for the same problem. And then we learned what is looping statements. So the looping statements are, they are the statements which can help us loop, like we can iterate through the program. Like we need more than one or two times of iteration of the program. So there are four types of decision statements: if, else if, nested if, and this thing switch case. And there are three types of looping statements. They are for, while, and do while. That is it. That is it for day one. I will see you guys on the next video. Thank you and bye bye.